We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life.
What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with How to Feel Good series, part 13, the Feel Good Flight. Feel Good Flight. What the heck is that about? Well, let me digress for just a second. As you know, that I was a professional ballroom dancer and competitor. I competed on the ballroom dance circuit for 10 years and I had a great experience. In fact, I started when I was 5 and I've been competing pretty much my whole life and doing that for a long time. So I had a lot of experience at dancing and competing at a very high level all the way into the professional ranks. And you tend to learn a thing or two about being a professional athlete. And professional dancers are certainly incredible athletes. Oftentimes we get pegged as artists, but most athletes that have tried dance have come to realize and understand how incredibly taxing and challenging the body has to be able to go through, right? All that taxing activity, and you have a lot that is very athletic, right? So we also have that added representation of art that we bring to the table, and it's the combination of those two things that are pretty amazing. Now, what I would like to talk about today is, we labeled this Feel Good Flight, and I want to talk about something that happens in dance. There's this thing called body flight. Body flight is a very interesting thing. You can get body flight running. I don't know if you've ever run on the sidewalk and you try to jump between the cracks in the cement, right? And you create body flight by increasing the speed or the amount of power you put in so that you can bound from one cement block to the next as you go down the street. And you create body flight. In dance, it's not quite that different, actually. It is this amazing experience. And especially when you talk about what are called the ballroom or standard dances. It's a dance like waltz or foxtrot. In fact, one of the best and one of my favorite dances is the international style foxtrot. It's a very linear dance and it's very stretched out. And I know some of you are thinking right now, well, gosh, I'm not a dancer, so what are you talking about? Just hang with me for just a second. We've had a lot of metaphors along the way, and this one I think will help you. As you teach a dancer to do a basic feather step, and that's what the basic is called in international foxtrot, is a feather step. It's a very linear step. It's 3 steps forward. You would think it wasn't that big of a deal. It's not that hard, right? Until you try to do it with another person in front of you and move with grace and elegance and look like you're floating across the room. It is amazing, and the distance it can cover is not comprehensible. When you look at it and you actually stop to think, gosh, how did they get from that point to that point in 3 steps with another person in front of them and attached to their bodies in a dance position? How did they do that? How did they create that? And what they had to do was go through the process of learning the foundation and technical skills to create this artistic beauty. And they did that by learning the fundamentals, using their feet and how their legs work and how their body works. But all of it and everything they were doing was to create momentum. And the momentum allowed them to access something we call body flight. Body flight is the more than just the step, the ability to sort of fly without flying, the ability to float through the air without actually floating, but to actually cover a distance that doesn't seem comprehensible, and yet it is. And when you watch it, it's an amazing beauty. When you see it done well, when you see it done by the world champions, it is incredible. When you see it done by the best of the best, they can really just blow you away. And so what we want to talk about is momentum. And when we talk about flight, oftentimes flight needs momentum. In fact, as you are in an airplane taking off, it has to have a certain amount of momentum before there's enough wind blowing under the wings to give those wings lift and then lift that airplane up into the air. And this is how it works. You see, we're not like airplanes when we do the dancing or that feather, but here's the thing. We have to create momentum. In many instances, it's an initial state change. In many instances, it's getting your body going and moving. In many instances, it's a step forward towards that goal. In many instances, it's doing something towards the accomplishment of a goal or an outcome that you're after to just get the ball rolling. And that momentum can create flight through what it is that you're doing. And that flight can turn into a zone or the flow that we talked about when we were discussing meditation. So what I want to talk about is feel-good flight. What is that? That is that element of movement or momentum once you start to understand how to feel good and you start to take into account some of the processes and things that we have done thus far in this series. And what we want to do is we want to understand that it starts, right, like we were talking about with body flight, getting into that zone and finding that flow. But what we're really after is we're after that momentum. And this is huge, right? Motivation is huge, not because it's sustainable, but because it is the beginning. I once heard some clickbait out there on the internet and saw it. It was appalling. They said, motivation doesn't work. Well, you know what? Motivation is just one piece of the puzzle. So if you were to isolate it and say, well, motivation doesn't work because it doesn't actually follow through, well, gosh, that's just clickbait. Guys, we need motivation. We need to be motivated. The first Model T Ford had to be motivated. In fact, you had to jump out in front of the car with the little crank, and you had to crank the engine to give it some motivation and run back around, turn it on and start it. That's how it all began. But that motivation then turned into consistent power, and they figured out a way to keep it going. Right? You see, we need motivation. We needed to understand, in order to feel good, we needed to understand some of the basics of it. And we have to build a skill set and learn to master a skill set that is something that you can continually improve on and continually get better at, so that you can get better at feeling good all the time. You see, but we need those skills, and we need to keep adding the skills necessary. And there are lots more. We only covered some of the essentials. But there are so many more skills that you need to feel good on a regular basis. And we should have been taught these when we were born, not now. Right? But it's not too late, and that's the thing. Right now, we can learn to utilize these things to create some good, feel-good flight, some momentum in the process, some momentum to keep you moving, to get you going, and then we can allow the fundamentals and the processes and the things, the SOPs that we've created for our daily life to actually carry us through. And what happens is, in order to play off of some of those funny things that we've seen, I'm going to say momentum sucks. Right? That's a little clickbait for you, right? Momentum sucks. But I mean that in the most positive way possible. Momentum sucks. Here's the thing. When you're doing a beautiful feather across the room in a great ballroom position, and you and your partner are in sync, as a professional dancer, they have attained the highest level of that foxtrot feather step, one of the most beautiful steps ever. And what happens is, instead of you physically powering through it, it's almost as if it is sucking you across the floor by powers that it is hard to understand even as the dancer. Momentum sucks in the most positive way possible. There is this thing, there is this element to the momentum and to the feel-good flight that will start to suck you towards it, and it will be inexplicable. It'll be ineffable, as it were. And that is the beauty of being able to get into this feel-good skill set. It's something you should master. It's something you should be educated on. It is something that you need to take to the next level, because you deserve to feel good for the rest of your life, not just today, not tomorrow, but for the rest of your life. and for your journey towards your personal legend. And as your personal legend develops and grows and turns into the thing that it is, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop tomorrow because you attain it. It just begins. And when you do that, when you start to get that sucking element, right? It's like something is pulling you towards this amazing thing. I don't know what you'll call it. Maybe you will call it your personal legend. Maybe that's a little too epic for you. I love it. I love the idea of a personal legend that you can go after. Paulo Coelho talked to us about it in The Alchemist, and it's a beautiful concept, right? But this flight, this feel-good flight, this momentum, it'll suck you to it, and there's a certain point where it's effortless and efficient. And it starts taking you, and you still have to do your part, because if you stop utilizing your muscular power, if you stop utilizing the facets that you have been given, then the sucking stops too. It's like it goes both directions, right? So you have to put your energy in, you have to put some momentum in, you have to put some of your knowledge and core fundamental principles in the skill set that you've learned, and you have to keep adding to it, because it doesn't stop just because you meditated on the day. You didn't arrive just because you did 15 minutes today. You didn't arrive because you said thank you once when you got out of bed. That's not how it works. It's part of the experience. Those are part of the process. Those are just little things along the way that you can do, but there are so many things you can learn to do. There are so many things in the skill set that you deserve to know, because they are not supposed to be a secret. They're not supposed to be something that we don't know. In fact, our elders, the greats that came before us, have tried to teach us this in so many ways. In fact, it has been inundated through so many things in our culture, in our world. Not even if you're anywhere in the world, it's been inundated. In America, it is the pursuit of happiness, right? They say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What is the pursuit of happiness? It is the pursuit of being able to feel good, and yet we don't learn it in school. Why not? Well, it's time. It's time for you to do that. And so today, what I want you to think about is what kind of things can you create through your SOPs, right? We started talking about your SOPs, and we started talking about the power of gratitude and unconditional appreciation and so many other things in this series. And we want to create momentum. So if you haven't done it, or if you need a little jolt, you can go back and do it again. These will be here for you, right? But you want to be able to go and create momentum. And when you create momentum, you can start to get into flight, feel good flight, right? Feel good flight. And it's amazing when you get there. Maybe you've experienced it before, and maybe it's time to experience it again. Guys, today, this is to remind you that momentum sucks. It sucks you right into that great place, right into that flow, right into that amazing zone. And I wish it upon you. I wish you to be able to live in that state, in that space where it is sucking you to, life is sucking you to it in a most positive way. And it all starts with you being able to feel good. Guys, I hope you're enjoying this series so far, and if you know somebody that needs to hear this message today, please share it with them. And of course, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do that. And if you're finding this video for the first time and you haven't heard the rest of the series, please, for goodness sakes, go back and start from the beginning, because there's some amazing stuff for you along this journey. I'm excited that you're here, and I'm excited that you want to feel good, because you deserve it. Guys, don't forget, go find the magic for life. We'll see you on the next episode.
Hey lifers, have you ever been taught the skill set of feeling good? Most people haven't. It's so easy to fall into the trap of going through life not feeling good, or even worse, feeling mediocre. You don't have to settle. You don't have to let social media dictate how you feel. You don't have to give up your control over your life to other people in the world. It's time to take back control of how you feel. It's time to learn the skills of how to feel good, on purpose, on demand, and most importantly, from the inside out. I'm on a mission to help people just like you take back your life, grab a hold of your personal legend, and take your daily experiences to the next level. You can feel good on purpose. You don't need Netflix. You don't need food. You don't need anything outside of yourself. You can feel good on demand because you decided to and because it's a skill set you can practice, get better at, and even master that skill set. You can feel good from the inside out. You don't need things, situations, or people to be responsible for making you feel anything. If you're ready, and maybe even if you're not, this is your chance to change your stars, to change your life at the most fundamental level, how you feel. Join me for the upcoming Feel Good Challenge. I challenge you right now, come and learn the skill set you should have been taught as a child. Take the Feel Good Challenge. Take the rest of your life back. Go to takethefeelgoodchallenge.com right now and sign up while you still can. That's takethefeelgoodchallenge.com. We'll see you there.